I want, you know what I really want? I want Yasuo support. I want good Yasuo.
I feel like Yasuo needs more than just support.
I think.
Hit me with
All right, so I'm just gonna say. Does it work with Timo?
We don't know.
Does Sejuani work with Timo?
Sure. It's a big question, right? I will say the wording on puff
I need
cap
to know.
implies self damage. It's like when you drop poison puff cap, it says deal 1 to your nexus.
Yeah. Yeah, somebody replied to me on Twitter telling me that, and my dreams. My dreams crushed a little bit because that would be because it's also like what we were talking about with Ezreal earlier, right? You can add like cards like Chump of Wumps can also like give you shrooms and you can get that damage. I don't know, like I said, it's hard to level her up, but I just really want it to happen.
Guess, I would say
I don't know,
40% chance of it working with Timo would be where I'm at. It's pretty close though. Could be.
That means it's possible, and that's all.
So you
that's all you
slide
need
her
for
into
Mushroom
like
Dream.
Your current Ashe deck. Can you link me your Ashe deck? You've played more of the Archetype than I have.
Yeah, I have two different builds because the one that I played in the tournament was like super anti-Demacia, right? But I'm actually one of those, people who plays one off of Katarina, even though people think she's a meme. I like Katarina as a one off in the deck. But what you were saying earlier, like I agree with, like there's no like there's no issue with adding 3 more champion slots onto the deck because right now only Ashe is really vital. Like some variants were playing Tryndamere, which I really like for ladder because it mitigates the control matchup a little bit, which is pretty terrible. Gives you a good late game play, but you can slap her in. I just feel like somebody in your chat said earlier, like she may be a little bit like old Hecarim in a way. I think that could be true. Like she's just a solid 6 drop play, right? Because it's kind of like a removal on a big beefy stick, and that's always decent at least, right? I don't know. It's how I see it, but I mean for me it's battle. Let me actually link you the deck. For me, it's Ember Maiden is the highlight
for sure
of the whole thing. Like
crazy,
I think that card
dude.
is nuts. That card is so good.
No, it's absolutely insane.
All right, let me give me a second.
Yeah, I was thinking. I mean, she would probably be like a 2 of in that kind of deck, right? Like the Ashe deck. So you could even keep the Katarina in if you wanted.
All right, that's I found the tournament one,
like anti-bannerman tech.
But I mean, you can modify.
How would you mod this for like a ladder version?
Because well, I think Reckoning is fine as a one-off personally. I don't think you need to run 2 copies of it. I also think I was playing Flash Freeze because of the matchup, but in the prior version I ran like one off of Flash Freeze because I think Brittle Steel and Harsh Winds are more crucial, right? And instead of those, I would advocate for like a Tryndamere, right? Like we were mentioning earlier, but also maybe.
I'm thinking that Sejuani should probably devalue Tryndamere. Like I'd rather run a 3rd Sejuani at that point, if anything.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Definitely. She, like the fact that she has Overwhelm as well, like she can be good against good. Like the biggest downside to this deck is obviously the control matchup, right? Because your Frostbites don't really have proper use. So I'm not sure, like what you would just like slap
pretty
in
much.
Sejuani
I'm thinking like
deck?
2 Sejuani. I do personally think like so you can fit Katarina in this deck because you do have the 6th champ slot if you're at 2 Sejuani. But I'm thinking that the timing of Sejuani will still compete with Katarina because like you're gonna be a little heavier on mana, and like.
Wait. You know what card could actually really work in this deck? The 4 burst card,
exactly.
The 4 mana burst, because because one of the downsides to now I remember, like I have the deck here. I ran like in this variant that I showed you. You see, there's no Elixir of Iron because I didn't deem the card valuable against Bannerman, but obviously against control matchups is really good. And the 4 mana burst card not only can allow you to push damage, but I think Katarina still has a slot in this deck, especially for the control matchup, right? Like that's why I have her in there, right? Because leveling her up with protection can enable you to like navigate around Runation and stuff. So with the 4 mana burst spell, I think you have extra because +4 health.
Yeah,
is
and
actually
usually
pretty insane. You
on the turns where you're playing Katarina,
any sort of
it'll
removal.
often start on like the 6-7 mana turns where you'll have enough for Katarina plus the 4. Yeah, makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Turn 3 Katarina rarely happens. It's a tempo loss against creature-based decks, and you want to have protection against control decks from removal. So you don't really play her on curve ever. So yeah, you can definitely justify. Like I think honestly, like until I saw you talking about it, I didn't really pay too much attention to the burst spell because it's kind of generic, 4 mana +4/+4. It didn't really dwell too much on it, but it's actually. Like that comparison that you made.
I think it's probably better, right?
It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, four health is often better than barrier. I would usually rather have 4 health than a barrier, I think, because barrier is a little vulnerable to pings, and 4 attack is obviously way more than 3. And hey, that's crazy.
Riposte is only better. It's only better if you're like using it to trade with like a Sithria, something big, right? And you really want to avoid that damage. Otherwise, +4/+4 is always just mathematically better. Like you're getting more out of it every time. It also allows you to push more damage as well. Yeah, I think the card's actually like low-key really good. And the fact that it's Sejuani's, signature spell makes the champion
so, for
even
sure.
better.
I think I'm thinking Flash Freeze can go down to maybe something like a 1 of. Maybe even 0.
I agree. It's definitely like in my experience, it's the worst of the 3.
Because like you'll have some levels on Sejuani helps your timing a bit, but also like most of the reason is just because now that you've got the 4/4/4, you're a little too trick heavy if you have Flash Freeze as well. So yeah, I think it's a 0. I think it just gets fully replaced, which feels great. I think.
Yeah, I don't see a problem with that. Honestly, like. The only reason I ran that was because of the matchup, but even then, before I only ran it as a 1-off.
What do you think about Pulling Strike? I kind of hate this card, but it does hit this deck.
Yeah, but dude, I've been you and I have shared that opinion. Like when everybody was going crazy over the card, like it's terrible. Okay, yes, but in this deck, it's too good with like an Ashe attack. Like that's the thing. Like you can the fact that you can enable it for free. Because I hate like the playing a Frostbite into a. You're still wasting 2 cards on 1 technically, right? But I do like it a lot with Ashe. Like the fact that you can enable the Frostbite for free, and even now more so if you're gonna add Sejuani, because she also Frostbites, right? For whatever reason your opponent can protect it, then it's just good to have. Maybe it could be a 2 of, honestly. Like I wouldn't be against that, but I wouldn't go.
I think that could make sense. I do. Okay, let me ask you a question. Since you've played this deck more than me, do you think so? Freljord getting some good cards. Do you think it's possible to consider doing like an Avaros and Outriders? You'd have to cut out the like Drummer Glory Seeker package. Yeah,
I mean the Drummer is very neat, but through my experience, it has never been like vital to the deck. Yeah. It's just like that's why it's a 2 of, right? It's a nice. It's especially good against mid-range decks.
The biggest problem though is like Outriders competes for too many 4s. I kind of hated playing Ashe and Outriders.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't really. I don't think you can actually, because the biggest reason is not dropping the Drummer or the Glory Seeker. The biggest problem, in my opinion, is dropping the Assessor. I think the Assessor.
I would probably keep. I would keep Assessor with Outriders,
especially like the. Ooh, but that's a lot of 4.
You don't play Assessor on 4 though, right?
I mean, the reason why I have a full set of Babbling Burk is because this deck's biggest weakness, again and again, is always the same. Is running out of gas. Because Frostbites, unless you're using them to get trades, they are you are losing card advantage with them, and you've run out of steam really quickly. So having a full set of Babbling Burk alongside Assessor allows you to keep going. So letting go of that for Avaros and Outriders, I'm not sure.
No. I'm in the camp that I think Outriders can't.
It is a good card.
I was just wondering, like, I'm close to the fence, but I don't think it can work.
Yeah, I think that the 4-drop slot is pretty tight because Ashe and the other 2 are pretty vital, but the 2-drop slot and the higher end of the curve is definitely more flexible.
And I assume
that's what I would say.
We can. I think we have to rule out Ember Maiden. As much as this card is bomb. It just can't. You have too many 1 health units. Yeah, it's not the deck for it, which is fine. It's fine. That card will. Every other Freljord deck, I think literally every other Freljord deck will 3 of that card.
God, yeah, that card is so amazing, dude. It's incredible. I was watching the video because I basically I recorded like a live reaction, right? And I was like, how do you level up Sejuani? And then I see the Ember Maiden. I'm like, oh, okay. And dude, have you thought about like, dude, the card with Nashi guilty, man.
That is pretty funny.
Nuts. Like, dude, we both. I know you feel the same way. Like, I love the Freljord Noxus region combination, but it's one of the weakest ones because of lack of interactivity, right? There's no single combat, there's no Will of Ionia, there's no Vile Feast, etc. But now with Battle Maiden, Nash Guillotine is fucking amazing, dude. Like, all of a sudden you have a way. Obviously it's still somewhat restricted because your opponent can play, like, the turn your opponent plays a unit, it will technically be safe from that, right? Because you need to wait for the start of the round. But barring that, all of a sudden, like, you have really good disruption, which the Archetype did not have. And that was, in my opinion, the only thing keeping that sort of strategy from a top tier status. Like, that's the only thing holding it back. If that can be patched, then like Freljord and Ashe is gonna be actually legit. Like,
dude, I was saying the exact same thing, like, before with I'm not doing that Twitch chat thing where I'm not saying like, oh, I said it first, but I completely agree. When I was building the like mono Nox deck with Legion Veteran, that was like, I said like multiple times, that's the one thing this is missing. The one thing is I have no single combat. If I had a single combat, if I could like disrupt anything, I'm good. Like, and that's.
Yeah, because I told you, like, you were talking about that. I told you, well, I like Whirling Death, but Whirling Death is only combat. Like, that's the problem, right? It's like, but being able to hit them outside of that and disrupt them outside of that is massive. And like that card, like, not only that, but just the card itself alone against like any sort of swarmy tactic. Like, it's such a good effect, dude. Obviously, like, the biggest thing that worries me with cards built with Battle Maiden and just like the self-damaging is actually, do we have like enough health buffs? You know, like, we're gonna need like so many, because you're gonna run out of health like really fast. Like, the deck already, like, I play Crimson a lot because I really enjoy Braum, right? And it's so easy to just run out of health buffs and just not have enough health to get your synergies going on, right? So a card like Ember Maiden is gonna make you really hungry for that shit, and we'll see if we get like more. Because I have a problem with like Oath. It's called Oathsworn. No, Bloodsworn Pledge, right? It's called. I feel like it's a little bit overcosted, and I don't feel great having to run that card. You know what I mean? Like, because I love Elixir of Iron, obviously, but that card I'm not crazy. Maybe we'll get something else that helps that a little bit. Something, I don't know. But it would be nice, because it's like the one thing that I think may hold, because I think the card is nuts. I think Ember Maiden is easily the most important card out of these. And
so
I'm
here's
really
a question about
it.
the stack. How, let's say by turn 8, how often will Sejuani be leveled by turn 8? I feel like it'll kind of never happen.
Yeah,
she's pretty much never gonna level. But, I mean, that's still fine, but.
Like, my heart wants it to happen, but my brain is just like, they made it hard for a reason, man. Like, if she was easy to level up, she would be ridiculous. Like, if you think about it, you know, because I don't know, man, but it's one of the things that it's gonna make deck building around her challenging. But I'm excited about that, because I actually do believe there will be a way to build an Ezreal deck with her that'll work out. It's what you mentioned though, right? Like, you have to damage the Nexus, but people were mentioning the used Cask Salesman, which is actually,
I love that card.
A legitimate option. And also, it's a great card. Like, I think that card alongside there's like there was a post on Reddit I saw like a while back of like that card, and the Boom Crew Rookie like got buffed like very early on in the beta, like the preview, because they were and that card, like, definitely, you can tell, like, it's just a really good card, right? So there would be no issue for Ezreal Freljord to run that sort of card, and then maybe other ways, like if there's like, because I feel like that deck really benefits from Esper Maiden, so that's also a great enabler, right? So if you can somehow manage to, it's still a very heavy requirement, but if you can manage to design a deck that can just flow and get that requirement going, then she's a monster play, because she also she synergizes with Ezreal, right? Like she targets, so they work together as well in that regard. I don't know. I feel like that can be a legit thing, and I also feel like she would just have the Hecarim syndrome, just a solid, because it's a 6-drop, you know, and it's a 6-drop that targets something and basically removes something and gives you a very solid body with a fantastic keyword and overwhelm. So I just feel like she'll be good on her
like
own.
One of the interesting things about her is like she has a pretty unique ability to give something challenger. Is there so like what are the combos? Like Cursed Keeper, that could be a weird combo where it's like, oh wait, but then it's Frostbite and it never dies. Okay, never mind. But like there's got to be something that just wants challenger, but Laurent Duelist isn't good enough. It's an interesting angle.
Oh, actually, that's a very good point. I can't really.
Most things that want challenger are like that want to die though, like Keeper and Undying. So it's like the Frostbite is redundant there.
Yeah. But maybe something that maybe a
like
card
River
that wants to
Shaper,
strike but doesn't want to die, like
River Shaper. But I mean, I wouldn't advocate running that card. But like,
yeah, well, yeah. There could be other, like, I can search for that now, and maybe cards that are added on top of that. But yeah, no, that's definitely a good point. Like I don't. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now, but I'm not really seeing anything. Well, you have the LoR
already has challenger.
That already has challenger. So,
true.
Greenglade Lookout.
Yeah, Greenglade Lookout. Get.
I like this card. Nobody plays this card, but I like this card.
I do think it's a little underrated.
terrible.
I think like with another expansion, there could be something to cheat out.
Yeah. If it was a 2-2, man, my God, it would be great. But the fact it's a 2-1, just it gets vile feasted all the time, man. It sucks. But yeah, like I don't know, cards like this. Maybe we get more cards that have these strike effects, because right now the pool is very limited in that regard, right? Like there's not really that many. Because I'm searching right now, and there's not that many different options.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
So maybe we get more support for that sense. But I just think it's just a prime, like it's just a great removal source, you know. Like it just makes Sejuani like a play. I don't know. I feel like a card that provides you with a good removal play that also gives you a body on top of that. Like there's no way that can be bad.
It's ever. Pretty solid. It's like normally I would think like a champion slot at 6 mana in a lot of decks would have a hard time fitting, but this is a deck that can afford both of those things. Like it's looking for a 6 mana and it's looking for a champion, so it's totally fine.
By the way, I want to like, cause I haven't seen your opinion
on the other ones.
I'm really curious because I kind of freaked out with the.
I did too. You know what? I will say, I freaked out about that at first. It's like I'm on the record. My public opinion is that I was like freaking out about it. But the more I think about it, the more it's like, I don't know. It's a pretty good card, but I don't actually think it'll be like meta shattering. I'm just like,
all right. I mean, it can't be chump blocked and everything. I just hate the fact that it trades favorably against pretty much every 3-drop under the sun on its own. Like I just don't like that. It kind of concerned me, and it reminds me like the reason why like I'm talking about that card is because it reminds me of the 5-drop that we saw today. That apparently is not a card, like it's a token. Because that it's kind of crazy, right? If it were a card, it's a 5-mana 6/6 with overwhelm. Like I'm looking at the 5-drops right now, and that's
it feels like
pretty beastie. But I mean, not by too much though. You know, like it's not like, because if you compare it to like the Swiftwing Lancer, it's not that.
It's just
not that much.
Little power creep.
But I wonder if it'll be spawned by something like a spell or.
Yeah, I think I would say the more I think about Loyal Badger Bear is like, it's quite good, but there's a lot of situations. It's basically like it's good against like Karma Ezreal. It's kind of the one thing where it's like it's got the aggression and they can't really chump block it. Whereas like I don't know. I mean, I think Laurent Protege is a hyper crazy card already. I think because often you're getting +1/+1 either off of War Chefs or Bannerman, and like you don't really need that extra point of attack after 3. And Challenger is really important, especially for how that deck wants to play. It's like there's only one matchup where I think you would definitely want to rather have the +2 attack than the challenger, and that would be the Karma Ezreal.
Raw stats. Yeah, you're maybe right. I'm just like I think maybe I'm just looking at the card.
I think it's still good. Don't get me wrong. It's a good card.
Yeah, but maybe like as long as it's not, because I've had some people to compare the whole 4/4 concept,
unreliable things.
The Curse Keeper opener with the Ravenous Butcher, but I mean, that opener is pretty ridiculous though when it happens. Like it's hard. It's not easy to fight that, right? So like having the fact that the card doesn't need anything else to just provide you that stat line. And I don't know. In like I said, in a vacuum, comparing it to, for example, the LoR and Protege, it's a 4/4 versus a 2/4. Like that difference in 2 stats is pretty significant. But obviously, yeah, if you're facing any sort of swarmy deck or like any sort of Shadow House deck with Hapless Aristocrat, for example, like Hapless Aristocrat just kind of like nullifies that.
It's great against the other one
and
too.
The Protege,
like Grizzled Veteran or Ranger or whatever it's called, Grizzled Ranger. Hapless is it's so good.
I love the 4-drop, by the way. I love it. It's like that. So for me, like from the Demacian ones, that's the highlight. Like that's my Ember Maiden of Demacia. That card is. Oh my god, that card's so sick. It's also like really flexible cards. But what I really like about Sejuani is a lot of times when I'm talking about a card, like I'm not purely referring to its power level, or I also, for me the fun factor is also very important, right? Like how many different decks can I build around this, right? And Sejuani just it gives me this vibe, and she's super flexible. Like she fits so many different decks, right? Obviously, it's going to come down to how you can level her up, but you can build her like, I really hope the Teemo shit works, because that would be. That'd be too good.
I think I hope so too.
I really like that.
I don't actually think it would be overpowered. There's this meme about like future proofing in the design space. I do think moving forward, eventually it probably is a good idea to make the trap damage like uninteractable with this kind of thing, and maybe that's what they're thinking. But I think it would be a lot of fun if it worked with Teemo now, and it certainly wouldn't be overpowered, of course. Like that's a hardcore meme.
I like these reveals. I think these cards are definitely adding quite a bit to the table, especially like I like this Freljord.
I was kind of disappointed with the Demacia one. I like the Freljord one. It looks good. Looks sweet.
Yeah. I mean, I got really hyped for Quinn initially, but like she's. Yeah. I still think she's very fun, right? But we'll see how. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like the scout mechanic is really interesting, but this one is definitely like. It's very satisfying because it feels like we're getting a lot of shit that.
Yeah.
Freljord Nox is needed.
Do you know about the Quinn triple attack Cythria combo?
Somebody told me in my comment section, actually. Like I saw like it was basically you got the attack, you got the Relentless Pursuit, right? Attacked first without the scouts, and then
pursuit, and then scout attack, and then normal attack. Yeah.
And then pursuit.
And it's scout. Like that actually seems kind of scary for sure. There's but apart from that, good. I don't have high hopes either.
But I really like. I'm the kind of guy who will try her out with Katarina anyways because I'm biased.
BBG was saying he thinks Quinn is quite good or something. Yeah. So, who knows?
I don't think the champion's bad by any means. I just think it's just what I think. Quinn is one of those things that she's very hard to assess, just purely theoretically speaking, right? Like you have to try her out. Like the scout mechanic is really, and obviously you have to see what other scout cards you get, right? Because it's everything rides on that, right? Like what kind of scout units are you obtaining? Because obviously the what's his name, Valor, having a scout with Challenger is really neat because you can actually you don't just attack blindly with it, and the Grizzled Ranger is also fantastic because it's a scout unit that you want to die, and your opponent can't really ignore 4 damage. So those two are good examples, but then you have the 4/5 moves, which is just like, well, I guess this can be a nice. I mean, it's nice. It's a nice high roll with Remembrance on turn 3, I guess, for Mage Seeker decks. Well, think about it. If you pull it on turn 3 and your opponent doesn't have like anything relevant on the board, you have a 4/5 that can attack
I think
twice,
Remembrance decks mostly just want to be kind of defensive, though.
Yeah. No, I don't deny that, but it can be neat. Like it can push some extra damage out of the blue. Like
that's true.
No real investment, right? But it is yeah, besides that, it's not really a particularly exciting card or anything. And then 3 mana 4/4, yeah, sure, powerful, but it's like I'd rather have cards to do things, right? So that this set is this Freljord pack is really. I really just want to see Noxus though, man. Like Noxus and
while we're podcasting here, what do you want to see specifically out of this? What would you like to see? Teemo support?
Oh yeah. When it comes to PNC, anything Teemo or Heimerdinger related, or support for those would be great. But Teemo support specifically, and from Noxus, man, I just want good cards.
Noxus feels kind of weird right now.
Dude, I love the Noxus region, and it's not just me wanting to be edgy or hipster or whatever. It's just I actually like a lot of the cards. I like the I want what I really want? I want Yasuo support. I want good Yasuo.
I feel like Yasuo needs more than just support.
I think Yasuo, dude. Okay, well I'm gonna say this live in front of your audience. I think Yasuo may become good with the set if we get the right cards. And I'll look like a genius
if that happens.
That happens.
Have you seen Yasuo's Yasuo's win rate stats? They're actually up. They're up 0.5% this last week from the week before. It's from 39.1 to 39.6.
All calculated.
That's his win rate. just like at this rate, you're looking at like 6-7 months out, it'll be positive.
Yeah, dude. I'm telling you.
I heard that in your... Didn't you make a Yasuo deck and like cut Yasuo out of it? Because I did the same thing too. Yeah.
Yes. It ended up becoming my... honestly, like one of my favorite personal decks, the Katarina Tempo one was Zed. Yeah, I basically wanted to build a stun... A deck that, capitalized on the stun mechanic and kind of like had, tempo plays to... It plays out kind of like an aggro deck does in a way, but it's more, about dealing a lot of damage in one specific turn instead of spreading it out over a bunch of early turns, right? And ultimately, I realized that the vast majority of the games that I lost were because I was drawing Yasuo, so I cut him out, and the deck did much better. It actually won the games.
I think
it was sad.
That's kind of the reason why I think Yasuo needs more than support. Because like if Yasuo gets support, I think he'll still... Like, it'll just be more stuns or recalls, and you'll still want to run, like, an aggro deck with Blade Twirler instead of running Yasuo,
I believe Yasuo, like, right now, his home, quote-unquote, for me, when I want to have... Because I have a lot of fun playing with him, right? Is basically a greedy version. Like, I actually ran a deck with a Greenglade Scout, and just, Because Yasuo, where he shines is when you pair him with the Minotaur Reckoner, right? That's like the best synergy he has right now, and it's kind of more of like a slower control mid-range sort of deck that tries to. It even tried to capitalize a little bit on the Bannerman matchup, right? If they don't smork you to death, obviously. But I think that's kind of like if Yasuo gets more, because Yasuo and like stun tempo with Katarina and Zed, for example, play out very differently, right? So I think more cards like Intimidating Roar and Minotaur Reckoner,
like
stuff
Mina.
like that.
Something like Mina that comes out a bit earlier
as well.
More of the control styles, yeah.
Exactly. That's why I was playing the Greenglade, because I wanted to get Mina turn 7, turn 8, because then she was against Demacia, she was just busted, right? But the best thing, like that deck, I had a lot of really good moments with that deck because there's like a 3-card combo that's like obviously not competitive, but it's really funny. It's I call it lockdown. It's basically if you have Minotaur Reckoner, Yasuo, and Ren Shadowblade on the board, you're facing a mid-range deck, then you kind of like they can't do anything, right? Like whatever they play dies and their board dies. But yeah, it's pretty trash. But I think Yasuo could be good, man. If
I love you, Daddy.
He got more, because it's not only just about getting stuns or recall effects. It's stun or recall effects that are that can be applied like the Minotaur Reckoner, right? Like in an engine. That keeps being applied again and again. Otherwise, it's not. But I do feel like it could be good. It could rise to maybe 45, maybe 50.
Yeah. No, honestly, that's a big swing, dude. That's like 6% up. That's like 2 tiers of swing already.
You, man.
Okay. I mean, I could see it.
from tier
basically,
from tier 9 to
that's the idea.
But yeah, that's basically what I want out of it.
I just
What
want
about you?
more...
What do you want?
I think that there's a
What do you
lot
wanna
of
see?
archetypes right now that feel just like there's so many cards that are locked behind things. Like I was explaining earlier, part of the reason I like Sejuani, but even more so the Ember Maiden, is because there's so many cards like behind the Vlad archetype that feel like they're kind of gated from real viability. And there's a few other archetypes that feel kind of incomplete for the same reason. Like for example, the full-on ephemeral archetype with like Soul Shepherd and Chariots, like stuff like that. Any archetype that has more than 10 cards. Yeah. I just love to see those cards in power, because that way we can get like kind of the most out of the card pool, right?
So for example, like is there anything that you want to see for Naxxus or Ionia?
Ionia, I would like to see a bit more diversity. It feels like Ionia is either just like aggro elusives or a control splash, and that's literally it.
Yeah, Ionia is basically blue from Magic the Gathering. Like that's what it is right now. That's all. It's just a bunch of like, you know, you have Deny and Will of Ionia, so very counter spells or tempo plays, and then unblockable units.
It's sort of weird.
I definitely agree.
Because it just feels like there's not really a lot of archetypes in Ionia, right? It's like
no, it's a prime support
it's just
faction,
like kind of
right?
generic
That's what
splash,
it is.
and it feels like it can be so much more than that.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely.
I actually quite like Naxxus. I was playing around with the Spiders deck last night on stream. I think Spiders is like geared to make a pretty good meta comeback right now if it's built right.
I mean, it kind of is already, right? Like I've been running into quite a few lately. Like it's still a really good deck, really. Like it never stopped being a solid list. I guess it just kind of like I don't know what drove it away for a while. Maybe
it was the Shadow Isles nerf, like Mark getting nerfed and stuff like that. Just made it like people stepped off it for a bit.
Yeah. I think we both agree on like Arachnoid Sentry. Like no matter what happens, I still believe the card is underplayed.
I was messing around with it in Spider Hacker. Yeah,
it's fantastic.
It might be good in that deck. It's good. I like it.
And I also know that you share my love for the House Spider.
Oh, I fucking love House Spider, dude. Game. I was on your stream yesterday, and someone in the chat was bullying me for running House Spider or something like that. I fucking love House Spider.
I mean, my chat can be pretty toxic.
I'll always ban all the Mogwai haters in my chat.
No, but House Spider is really like just generally cards that spread out in two different bodies or more are just generally great. And like, what's not to love about House Spider? It's good against aggro. It's good against control. It's always good. Yeah. It's always good to play on turn 2. And I didn't expect it would reach the point of like it being splashed on the Bannerman deck. Like I didn't see that coming.
Yeah.
But honestly,
well, it's like you were saying earlier, where like people are kind of surprised that Cursed Keeper Butcher is bad. But like, imagine like you play Keeper into Butcher and I just play House Spider. I'm fucking laughing. I'm great, dude. I just fucking smashed your combo. I trade for the Butcher on the big one, chump the 4/4, and you've wasted an entire card. I'm great, dude. It's a great card.
Yeah. I want to play with Ember Maiden right now, dude. God damn it. I need
Alico was he was in chat earlier. I don't know if you saw, but he was giving us a clue. Oh, really? He was saying that he was saying that Stormclaw Ursine, the reason, well, he was implying, but he was doing that thing where he was really saying it. He was saying the reason that Stormclaw Ursine, we don't know what it comes from yet, is because the card that summons it is utilizing a mechanic that they're not ready to show us. Like that they're probably trying to spread out the mechanics so that there's one new mechanic to show every week, basically. But there's something special about how this card gets summoned. Interesting. I know. They're fucking teasing us. They're edging us. Who the hell else in card reveals? Who in card reveals shows a token without showing what it summons it? Like what the? I know, man.
That's bullshit, dude. Why do you?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I just realized I'm kind of edging you. Yeah, fuck. My bad.
Oh man. I'm excited. Next one, like I said, I want to see Naxxus or Piltover next. Like, I'm obviously excited for every region, right? But I feel like Piltover is my favorite, so I'm obviously biased towards that one. And Naxxus is like the one that needs the most. I'm really intrigued to see like what they come up with. Like, I'm honestly like, these two champions. Like, I don't know about you, but I'm very pleased. Like from a design perspective, you know, and power level aside, just from a design perspective, I think they're both really interesting, and you can build around them in several different ways, and that's great. You know, like we didn't get like a, you know, no offense, but we didn't get like a Darius, right? You know?
Yeah, you're saying Darius is like kind of bad, or
You know what I mean?
Yeah, just very linear.
No, boring.
Yeah, I agree with that. He's literally just like an alpha
exactly.
wild claw on a champion slot.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm happy that we got, because both of these are just like super.
I'm not gonna lie.
intriguing.
I'm like
So
I'm
I'll
only
definitely-
semi hard for Quinn. It's like Quinn, yeah, she's aight. It doesn't feel like
I don't know. I like the scout mechanic. I think
I like the scout mechanic in
Yeah,
general.
but-
I think her timing is just a little weird.
like my only concern with us getting more and more sets is I really don't want the meta game to like basically evolve into just allegiance decks, right? Like that's my biggest fear. Because obviously allegiance cards are only gonna get better and better when the card pool increases, right? So that's like the one thing. Like I really hope we can move beyond that, and they gave us good reasons to mix regions together in more than just like I splash 3 house spiders and call it a Demacia.
I've got Mogwai. I've got a bit of a prediction that you're gonna like. Feel me here, okay? I think that.
All right.
So we've seen this new vulnerable keyword today, right? The symbol for vulnerable. Do you remember what it is?
It's like a weird hook, I think, or something. It's kind of like it reminds me of like a ancla. How do you say that in English? Like the thing that ships like
Anchor.
throw down.
Yeah.
Anchor.
Yeah. It's it's interesting. Well, here I'm just.
What about?
I'm replaying it here just to try to find it because I think there's. I'm trying to remember what color was the hook. Yeah, I think it was like purple, right?
I think.
I think so. It's interesting. Yeah. It's like a little purple hook. Moist. Okay. Interesting. Well, here's my thing. I think that vulnerable, the inherent concept of it, when you think about vulnerable,
I'm basically.
I think Shadow Isles. I think they'll probably have something that gives vulnerable, and I think that'll be a sick combo with Cursed Keeper and your boy the Undying. So that, I mean, if there's something in Shadow Isles that gives vulnerable, it's a sick combo.
Dude, you just we were talking earlier about like what cards, and you just mentioned it.
As long as it doesn't work with what's her face because she has Frostbite, but if it's just a straight up vulnerable card in Shadow Isles, that's kind of sick.
Yeah. Ooh.
Huge Undying buff.
Ooh.
If it happens, I mean, come on, that seems likely, right? Vulnerable is a new keyword. It's.
I mean, I was playing on guard with Undying, so if I get something better, then that's.
It's like it's the region that it just makes the most sense for vulnerable to be in, right? By far, I think, if anything. So it's pretty cool. It could be sweet.
I'm not sure if
just
I follow
like
that.
I don't know. They
like why Shadow Isles?
Yeah,
because they just make your.
Well, okay, I don't
I'm
really.
not sure.
It's because they're kind of like they do these like vulnerable to me. Vulnerable to me feels kind of like a weakening hex, like an offensive, like weakening hex, and that personally feels a bit Shadow Islesy. Like they wouldn't put in Demacia because Demacia already has challengers. It would be like too redundant.
Well, maybe
for sure.
New region though.
It definitely could be, but I don't know. I think it would make sense for Shadow Isles to have that that flavor.
I mean, it would be neat, but it would also be cool if it's from a different one,
yeah.
and then you can combine it with Shadow Isles and you mix, to like I said, things to
actually have to split out.
You. Like that's exactly that's the biggest. I think that should be their priority from a design perspective, right? Like just make it so like, hey, instead of like you can't force players to combine them. Like give them a good reason to. That's like move away from the whole allegiance. Just give them a good reason to be like, okay, my deck. In order for my deck to be stronger, I need to.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying. That's why allegiance is just too good. Because that's not enough of a reason.
Yeah, but maybe what I said earlier. Maybe I'm like more sets, and like regions just expanding more. Maybe this just increases the benefits of combining them, right? And lowers, that's what I hope will happen anyways.
All right, man. That sounds good. I'm not going to take any more of your time.
I'll hit you.
But yeah, no.
No worries,
have a nice dinner, buddy.